Art One-on-One with Mr. Burgher.
Welcome to another episode of Art One-on-One. I'm Nichole Jordan, your pod boss, alongside Mr. Burgher, your professional artist and master educator.
We're here again, doing it, back at it, and enjoying our new location.
Yes, temporary location.
Temporary location. It's one of those where, you know, life happens, and so we have to kind of roll with the punches. And as we've mentioned before, with my kids, your kids, our kids, their kids, schedules, jobs, school, classes, all of those things that we're doing, it's just, you know, at this particular point, we're a little bit transient, which is good. I mean, it's okay to be flexible. So we're going to bring you the content no matter where we're at as best we can. And, you know, we want to keep it fresh and all that. I know a lot of people that do podcasts, like they'll stack up 3 or 4 in a row, and which again, for certain types of content that works. For our content, it could work, but I
choose not to do that.
We choose not to do that.
It's a lot.
I'm not going to put it all on you.
Yeah, as they don't know at this point after that. Yeah, it is my choice to only record one at a time.
But it's all right.
Because I am not the professional artist, and I have to research the...
Well, you like to know what we're talking about, which I don't feel is really necessary. I don't feel like you need to be as on top of all of the arts. I feel like that's my job. I think your job is to keep me in line with the conversation. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, I don't want to seem clueless or ignorant, I should be able to do some research. It
is what it is. So
okay. Well,
and we're going to change some things up today, just to be completely transparent. You know, usually we talk about the videos that I put out on my Mr. Burgher channel. Mm-hmm. We talk about the shorties or the detail works, which are my Tuesday, Thursday videos that I'm doing right now. And then we also talk about the longer video content that usually comes out on the weekends, typically Saturday. But we're going to try something different this time.
Mixing it up today.
And we're going to add a little bit of your vibe to it. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. And this is not our idea. I have to give up credit where credit is due.
Oh, that's right.
This is my oldest daughter, Brooklyn's idea. My oldest daughter, Brooklyn, who is a subscriber, but not a consistent watcher of what it is that I do. She came on and she watched one of the podcasts, and she's like, you know, it'd be a lot cooler if you guys flipped it around and talked about some of Nikki's stuff, because that art stuff is boring. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that's what she was driving at. And so I thought, you know, Brooklyn, that's not a half bad idea.
I agree. I was excited.
So we're going to put a little bit of extra Nikki flavor into this one, a little bit of her repertoire and background and her wheelhouse a little bit. And if you want to follow along with her, there's links and stuff like that in the description for her channel, and you can go in to following her as much as you so choose. But at any rate, we're going to change it up a little bit by talking a little bit about some cards we picked up. We were recently in Kansas City, and they caught the eye of Nikki, and she's like, oh my gosh, look at this. And talk a little bit about your background with Oracle cards and just how you got into that.
Oh gosh, I don't know how I got into it, but yeah, so this is just an Oracle card deck that was at what museum? Nelson
Adkins in Kansas City.
Yes, so we were just there last weekend.
Oh, yeah. And this is a deck that is put out by Lawrence King Publishing Company, and you can find these cards, I would imagine, just about anywhere. You know, we'll put up some information on the cards as well, and they're a really nice quality card. if you're into that sort of thing, whether for the novelty or for the whatever your background is or your mindset is in terms of the cards. There's that, but
Yeah.
be that as it may.
So answering your question,
Yes.
I call myself an intuitive health coach. So I'm working with people intuitively to listen to their bodies, listen to their higher selves. And so part of something that I do with clients is to use oracle cards, which is maybe not the most accepted thing to some people, but my experience with it has been amazing. My clients have had amazing experiences. And so I use the cards just to have them tap in and get guidance. So guidance from their higher selves, guidance from their spirits or their guides, whatever that relates to them. It's pretty much open.
And today we want to tap into what I'm going to call our artist guides. Those artists that have come before us.
Ancestors
that are going to lead us down a certain path. Now, if this is a segment that you like and you want us to maintain, drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear your feedback or your thoughts on it, and kind of roll with it and see where it goes.
Yeah, we're just doing it to kind of mix things up and have fun today. So just so you can see, this is kind of a little bit of the deck. So it just features different artists in there.
And if you can't see, then I would recommend going to the YouTube channel and checking it out, and I'll have some, you'll be able to see at any rate.
So we asked, or we decided the question that we want to know is, what did we say? We wanted to know what the art guides, how they wanted to guide us in our conversation today. Like, what do they want us to focus on?
Where do they want us to go with our conversation today? And as a reoccurring segment, I don't know what we're going to call it or whatever. It doesn't really have a name. It's just basically asking the art, what do we call them?
The art guides.
The art guides. Ask the art guides. And then they will lead our conversation in a certain path or another. And through the cards, they will make us think or ponder in one direction or another.
All right. So I am just going to work with the cards a little bit, which I already have, and I will pull a card for us. Okay, so here it is. All right, so here is our card. All right, so the card is the artist. Go ahead and say his name.
Mies van der Rohe.
All right.
Mies van der Rohe.
So I don't know much about Mies van der Rohe. So basically what I would do in a normal reading is I would look at the card, I would look at the picture, and just kind of get some inspiration from what the picture is. And then there's also some content below that I would read. And in these particular cards, it gives the reading at the bottom is on their life, their work, and their inspiration. Right. So it's a very specific card.
And so we can focus on, because we're making up the rules as we go, we can focus on one of those things, or we can look at all three of those things. We can kind of make the rules up as we want. For those of you that don't know, I know very little of Mies van der Rohe. The last artist that was in the running of the famous Bauhaus in Germany, which was a huge school of thought, of design. They designed furniture, they designed artwork, but a lot more industrial sorts of things, and immigrated to the United States, became an American citizen eventually, and really reshaped the landscape of Chicago primarily. The architecture, the glass and the metal and the open sort of concept of glass and steel was a lot of his brainchild. But at any rate, let's take. Do you want to focus on one of those things?
I mean, just as you're talking, I was trying to get, some guidance. And the first part of this says about his life. His theory or his perspective is one lives many lives in a lifetime. So I think that's a cool thing to focus on, right? I mean,
Sure.
the fact that especially artists
Yeah.
tend to reinvent themselves many
Right.
times or have to come up with, who's the artist that used the male name at first that we just covered?
Oh yeah, that was Grace Robertson,
Yes, yes.
the photojournalist. But again, lots of artists, regardless of the type of art, whether you're talking about a literary artist like Samuel Langhorne Clemens, who changes his name to Mark Twain, or you take a creative artist like we have here, who alters his name, or you can take a look at Grandma Moses. Grandma Moses' name isn't Grandma Moses. Mr. Burgher. My name. Actually, I did a video on this. We'll put a link up here.
Can't believe that.
And actually, it's on an artist who uses his mother's maiden name, which is again part of what Mies also does. He incorporates his mother's maiden name into his given name. And anyway, the point is that Prince, pretty
Right.
sure, actually I think his first name was actually Prince, but there's more to it. There are lots of artists, whether you're talking about musical, you're talking about John Wayne. We went to the John Wayne Museum not terribly long ago,
All right.
and he was Marion Morrison, and got rid of Marion Morrison and became John Wayne. Artists, regardless of the type or breed, they alter their names, they alter their identities, and within that life, how many artists have had to reinvent themselves? How many times has, not to throw anybody under the bus, but my good buddy Tom, what's his name? Not Tom.
don't know.
I was thinking, Tom Cruise,
Your good buddy Tom Cruise.
my good buddy Tom Cruise, who in the 80s, he was who he was in the 80s, the risky business Tom Cruise, the
Okay.
outsiders Tom Cruise, and then he becomes the Top Gun, Days of Thunder Tom Cruise, and then he kind of went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs there for a minute or two, and he wasn't in anything, and then all of a sudden he's Mission Impossible Tom Cruise and Top Gun Maverick,
Right.
modern Tom Cruise, and so his career has certainly gone through a interesting evolution of sorts, where he's kind of been seen as squeaky clean to what the heck is he doing, to he's off of his rocker, to outspoken and opinionated, which I'm sure we all can be seen in different ways at different times, or have individuals see us, even as as an art instructor, professional artist, master educator,
Yes.
there are those students and families and people that see me a certain way, and some of them change their mind, and some of them don't, for the better, for the worse.
So have you ever thought about creating a new name or a new?
That's where Mr. Burgher came from.
Well, that's not really a new name.
But it is a new identity. I used to, when I would show, it's interesting, when I would show my artwork, I would always show under my full name, Michael. And then I stopped signing, I would always sign my work, Michael Burgher.
Mm-hmm.
Then I thought about, well, maybe I should change it to Mike and just show as Mike. And then it was just like, well, that's just too informal. But I'm really not, I'm a formal guy, but I didn't feel like I needed to be presented as terribly formal. And then I thought, well, I'm a teacher. If Grandma Moses can be Grandma Moses, and if artists can kind of change their names or change their identities or skew our thoughts to who we are, I thought, why can't I just be, as I'm an art teacher, I'll just take that as my complete identity, my whole artist identity. So I'm Mr. Burgher. So then I would always sign my name, M. Burgher.
So how many years into that did that transpire?
I've been doing that for probably close to 10 years now. As a matter of fact, the last couple of shows that I've done, it's been a hard press to force the people that are showing my work to not use my first name. It forced them to say, my name is only Mr. Burgher. Well, yeah, but when we call you, I was like, well, yeah. But, when you're dealing with Midwestern people and, saying, no, you will publish my name as this, it's kind of overbearing.
It is kind of appropriate for you because, like we were talking earlier when we were researching the videos, like you're pretty formal and serious a lot of the time.
I think I am, but I don't know that I am, but I don't know that I always want to be. And again, I think that perception is reality. I think that sometimes like people just watch the videos and they see the formality of it.
Yeah.
That's what they probably see. Like
they don't see all the takes where we're cussing and laughing.
Well, and that too. And again, it's also one of those things where, like, if you get me into a classroom, it depends on the day. To be honest with you, I mean, I think we're all like that to some degree. Where, like, there are some days with my students that I'm just like, we're just going to take it easy on this project and we're going to get through it. And you're going to learn this content and here's how we're going to do it. And then if the kids do well with it, then it's like, all right, it's all good. And then if they don't, then I'm like, dang it, we're going to crack down and we're going to focus and we're going to, and then the more formal Mr. Burgher comes out. And the less laid back Mr. Burgher is. And again, it depends on the day, whether you get and that inconsistency, quite frankly, isn't fair. It's not good practice to be inconsistent in that way to students. But I'll be honest with you, I am. I'm a little inconsistent when it comes to, if we're working and we're cooking in the right direction, then I'm going to be laid back. And if we start slacking, then I'm going to pull the reins in a little bit tighter.
Well, kids need to get used to that. I feel like our kids are like,
Well, and that's a fair.
Being flexible, being resilient, being able to adapt. And that's the real world.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. So I don't think necessarily. I think I probably disagree with you about what you're saying, but.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I appreciate you disagreeing with me on this particular topic.
So, yeah, I think that led us right where we needed to go. I think just the fact that many artists, whether it be for like social reasons or to overcome something or to, I don't know, if they're born into a certain, even born as someone that's high up that want to change, want to be seen as a normal person. People are always changing, evolving. Yeah. That's a big part of what I do with my clients.
Yeah. Well, and I think that this gives us a little bit of wiggle room that if the spirits ask us to come back to this card again, then there's certainly more things that can be discussed. There's more things that are in there that can be said on this particular card. And But I think that I do think that this is a good.
Well, it's a fun way to learn about an artist and kind of have a fun topic that we can dive into that just kind of takes us off the beaten path a little bit. Yeah. And then we can go back to the video because actually you were talking about humor and having humor. That was like a big topic of our conversation with your video for the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the artist was Claes
Oldenburg.
Claes Oldenburg.
And Claes Oldenburg, one of his big calling cards, one of the things that he's really well known for having said, and I believe that there's a quote of something of this, paraphrasing a bit, but saying something to the tune of, art should be fun, and if you're not having fun doing it, then what are you doing?
Right.
And I think a lot of times as artists, we see the business, we see the seriousness of it. It's like, I think maybe the best analogy that I can think of is when I never played. It's probably hard to believe, but I never played baseball as a youngster.
If you would watch him throw, you would understand why you just said that.
I'm not. I don't have the. I don't have a great arm. I can't really swing a bat, but I never played baseball. And the reason that I never played baseball is because, as I've mentioned before, my parents owned a boat business, and the peak time of running a boat business is the summer, and that meant that my dad and I never played catch. My dad and I never went out and hit a ball, and I never had time to join t-ball, baseball, or any of that stuff because we were busy doing the family business thing, and so I was never allowed the opportunity to play baseball. So to the point, my oldest son Brody, when we first put him in baseball, it was, t-ball, and it's just having fun. It's just the kids out having fun. It didn't matter if they won, if they lost. You know how it is. Your kids played baseball and other organized sports. You played softball and other organized sports. You know that when you're at those lower levels, it's all about just teaching the kids to have fun. But the more and more you go up the ranks, it's still fun when you're in middle school. It's still fun when you're in high school. It's still fun when you're in college. I have a former student that I know that was in professional baseball. It was still fun for him playing in the major leagues.
Right.
But it becomes business. It becomes more serious. It becomes different. It evolves. The same thing is true in art. When you're in elementary school, when you're in kindergarten, first grade, elementary art class, you want it to be fun. But then when you get to middle school and high school, okay, that fun needs to turn into something that's a little bit more productive. You're trying to communicate. You're trying to do something with it. And when you get from high school to college, there's this leap of seriousness with it. And that can kind of burn people out. They can kind of be turned off by that. So someone like Claes Oldenburg saying, listen, yeah, that's true, but don't forget why you're doing this. You're doing this to have fun. You're doing this to add enjoyment or add something to people's experiences or lives or whatever. It's not just, all
serious.
It's not just a stuffy show where people are sitting around looking at your stuff, but there should be an element of fun or something embedded into it, And again, every artist is different. As a pop artist, obviously, Claes Oldenburg is coming at this a little bit different than somebody that's maybe dealing with something more heavy, like an Artemisia Gentileschi. She probably saw this a little differently, or other artists throughout history have probably seen the work of being an artist a little differently. But be that as it may, I think that there should be an element of fun.
And his art portrayed that. I mean, the soft sculptures that he had, definitely they were so interesting and fun. Like, I would love to go visit some of the places where...
Well, that's easy for you to say. Soft sculptures. But actually, there are some really great soft sculptures that are. It's ice cream cones and the
bow and arrow one was my favorite.
Well, and that's a monument. That's a steel monument.
Yes, not a soft sculpture.
Yeah, again, easy to say. It just rolls off the tongue.
Well, I was more laughing than having issues.
Oh,
with
sure. But it's okay to have fun. Yes. You don't have to take yourself so seriously. Yes. But it's one of those things where I think that as artists and as people, and again, as an art educator, I got to remember that myself every day, because as artists, it's one of those double-edged swords that artists and art teachers are constantly talking. Like, I saw a meme just the other day of, good art takes time, and you got 3 days to get that project done. Hurry it up. And and again, there's that dual nature of being an art teacher. Yeah, good art, you got to put your time into it, but hurry the hell up and get that thing done. And it's a hard...
It's reality.
It's a hard reality, and it's a hard discussion to have at times with students as to, do what I say, not what I do, but do what I'm doing, not what I'm saying. And...
Yeah. Well, I think you brought up a quote in there. I mean, he had some pretty strong, what do I want to say? Not perceptions, but...
his observations of how art was made or what he did.
He was a big proponent that art is a technique of communication.
That was
what the quote was about.
Yeah,
anyway.
And I think that Claes Oldenburg, like most artists of his time, the pop artists and those individuals, there's a lot of communication in it. And there are some artists like Basquiat who throws even more language and written elements into the work. And then you can go even further than Basquiat into like a Jenny Holzer, and all of what she makes is revolves around language and her truisms. But then you have other artists where it's a little more subtle, and I wouldn't say most artists are as language heavy as a Jenny Holzer.
Have you done a video on her?
I have. Look in the description. Check it out.
I think that would be one that I would enjoy. So
she's a great one, and I'm a little disappointed that you haven't gone back and looked at it. You son of a.
Well, okay, and so a little bit more about Claes is his appearance here, like in Des Moines.
Right.
I don't even know when that was. How long ago would that have been?
It had to have been in the late 70s, early 80s.
I'm going to check your accuracy on this one.
Well, check it up. Late 70s, early 80s, where he was designing Crusoe Umbrella, and then found... Because I think that how he would work is he would come up with these ideas or concepts for the monuments, and then he would say, well, I've got this idea, and I've got this idea, and I've got this idea, and I think this idea would fit in this place or whatever. Like when we were in Kansas City and you got the shuttlecocks out in the middle of the yard. Okay, well, this is a great big open yard. The shuttlecocks work like that's super smart.
So cool.
For the Kansas City Art Institute or the Nelson Adkins Art Museum. And so it just makes sense to put that particular work there. It just works. And go back and check out the Claes Oldenburg video.
Well, that's what I think is interesting about. Because there's just random stuff. I mean, some of his sculptures are just random, but fun. I mean, I think it portrays his perception that art needs to be fun. Because it's just fun, random stuff in the middle of nowhere sometimes.
And that's also the concept of what it was to be a pop artist. You know, as a pop artist, it was, I'm going to make a 40-foot tall clothespin. Yeah. And I'm going to put that in Chicago. Why? It just seems like the right thing to do.
Right.
I'm going to make a giant spoon with a cherry on the end. We're going to put that in Minneapolis. Why? That just, they need a bridge. This is a bridge. It makes sense. Like in some level, the art fits the thing, and sometimes it's just kind of like, I've got this thing.
It's random.
Do you want it? And yeah, we'll take a giant clothespin. I'll take a giant paperclip.
Saw.
We'll have whatever it may be. And
it was fun. I loved his.
And he's very well spoken. And again, with his background in language, in writing and that sort of thing, it makes sense and all of that. But
Well, maybe
Anyway.
we round it out by talking about, because I don't really remember exactly how this works, but there was inspiration for Emerald City somewhere in there.
Right. Des Moines, so when and again, this is a side note that you're
Right,
turning
but I
into
think
a
it's-
major component, but
Cool.
L. Frank Baum, who is the writer of The Wizard of Oz,
Uh-huh.
when he was writing it, as the story goes, he was traveling through the Midwest. He was traveling from somewhere on the East Coast towards South Dakota. And on his travels, he stopped in Chicago and he stopped in Des Moines. Well, during his stop in Chicago, it was either the World's Fair or he went through the what was left of the facilities where the World's Fair had taken place. I don't know exactly the whole facts of it, but I know that he went through there and he's like, wow, this great big city, like that's really, really cool. Like we want to have a city like this in the story where they're going, the Emerald City. Well, it was just a city. And then by the time he got to Des Moines, it had evolved into the Emerald City because of, I believe, because of the five-domed
Which ties into
the five-domed Iowa State Capitol, which was newly built, and on the top of the domes there are emerald green domes on the corners.
And Klaus really focused on those as well and used them for inspiration.
Exactly, and then the domes also looked like umbrellas, and so the domes that influenced L. Frank Baum in creating The Wizard of Oz and the Emerald City also influenced Claes Oldenburg in bringing
I think those are fun, interesting facts.
the umbrella to
I'm
Des
impressed
Moines.
with your knowledge. It's very rare.
It's very random. It's not even, the thing is, like, I could never go on Jeopardy because I could never put it in the form of a question. And it's just so specific to art stuff that if it's like, what's the capital of New Guinea?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. Why? What color is this? That's emerald green. Idiot. Anyway.
Well, I think we'll
on
that note, we'll wrap up.
We can leave it right there. We can just put that right there and let us know if you do want us to come back to the tarot card thing. I think we're going to try that. I think
it'd be fun. I think it provided some good conversation.
I think so too. I think that it was a good segue as opposed to just focusing on the content that people have perhaps already consumed and added other insight to, and maybe add another element of conversation into that they wouldn't get in any other way other than just the randomness of what it is that we got going on. So
keep you on your toes.
Well, yep. Anyway.
Well, we're just trying to, I don't know, liven it up a little bit.
Try things new. And if anybody has any questions, make sure you leave those down in the comments. And you can find us all over social media, whether that's Twitter, TikTok, this, that, the other thing, YouTube. Obviously, I appreciate the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and all of those things. And also, don't just be stingy and check out my channel. Also, check out Nikki's stuff with Soulful Living Coach, not art coach, no. Soulful Living Coach, and all of the content that she produces for them, and they do cards and
all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of
more
stuff.
More health, yeah, definitely a little bit different.
Well,
topics.
You know your stuff better than I do.
Yeah,
like I'm not.
Yeah, I would definitely not bring you on my podcast as a guest. But
what does that mean? Holy sh!
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We hope you have a good night. And we
or day.
Day.
You don't know when somebody's going to be listening to this. They could be listening to this first thing in the morning.
Yes.
And you're saying good night. Well, I just woke up.
All right. Thanks for that clarification.
That's why I'm here. Thanks for watching.
Bye.